Welcome, Katie, to the Data Science Conference Europe here in Belgrade. It's really an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and you're currently working as the senior Kubernetes field engineer at Apple. And the first thing I want to ask you is what was your development path and what led you to this position right here?
Right. I think to answer that, I maybe should go a few roles back when I just got involved in cloud native community. So I think that was when I got interested in public cloud and containers. And by default, I realized that around open source, there is a community that pretty much supports all of this technology and makes it happen, provides new functionalities and has a roadmap and actually upskills people and educate people. And more importantly, extends the entire ecosystem. So I think when I got involved in that space, I was like, I don't want to go away. I think this is the space where everyone is very welcome. So I got involved in cloud native throughout my job at Condé Nast and then tried to kind of maintain that role at different other organizations. And now within Apple, I am a senior field engineer. However, what I'm trying to do is to focus on the cloud native expertise. So I'm trying to bring all of these new tools and new expertise that we have in the community back within different products and teams at Apple. So still very involved in the community and open source. I think that's been kind of the trail of my career path.
Yeah, sounds quite interesting. And in your opinion, as someone that's deep within the cloud, let's say, community, what do you think is the current state of integrating artificial intelligence and cloud technology?
This is actually an area that I'm kind of covering throughout the talk as well, because the question when it comes to data science and cloud native is, can they be combined? The short answer is yes. However, we don't have a lot of tools covering the space at the moment. So it's still an emerging market. When it comes to cloud native and data science, kind of that overlap of tools. So I've been mentioning we have tools such as Kubeflow currently applying for incubation within the CNCF. Incubation means that it has a lot of adoptions. It has already successful use cases in production, but there is like a next level, which is graduation. So hopefully they're going to reach that maturity level. There are other tools such as Volcano, focusing on batch workloads. We have tools for storage and visualization, but like this intersection between the two worlds, it's still quite new. So if there is anyone who is passionate about cloud native and data science alike, I would definitely invite them to contribute and be part of the community.
And speaking of community, what do you think is the importance of community being engaged with the corporate world in general, those connections, not just within the cloud community, but in general?
I think it's very important that for any technology, we should have usage for it. Like we should find some usages in the real world. And this is why it's very important to, yes, have open source, but at the same time to have applications for it in the real world. Because based on the use case, based on adoptions, you're going to have a use case for it. And then that use case can evolve. It might be just simply we want to operate at scale, so you kind of enhance the tool in a way that it can operate at scale. Sometimes it can be we require this functionality, and this functionality comes from the feedback loop for the adoption process. So this, I think, collaboration between open source and, I wouldn't say it corporation world, but different organizations or adopters, it's a very tightly coupled one that moves each other forward. So I think it's an intertwinement that both of them thrive on each other. So adoption, open source, and it kind of continues growing in that circle.
So a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, very much so, yeah. I wouldn't describe cloud native without any organizations and vendors that are part of it. I wouldn't describe cloud native without the adopter community, and I wouldn't describe it without the actual contributors and maintainers. I think all of these are core parts of how open source is today and why it's so successful nowadays.
And looking a bit further into the future, what are some of the, let's say, emerging technologies within cloud native that excite you as an engineer?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question. It's like, what do you see is going to happen? I think I would love to see a bit more innovation towards the edge. So, for example, how can you push configuration cloud native towards the edge devices? We have tools within the space, but again, very emerging. When it comes to data science, this is why actually I'm here today, because the data science community is very new to me. I don't interact with it on a usual basis. However, I would like to understand what is the interest here and kind of engage any people that have any passion for it early on and bring them to the cloud native side, or maybe they can bring me to the data science side. So I think it's all about kind of collaboration. So edge, I would say data science, machine learning. And the other one I would like to highlight, let's see, developer experience. I definitely think when it comes to tooling and adoption of open source and technology, we need to simplify it even further. So I definitely look forward to see some innovation in that space because I think it's been quite stale for the last couple of years.
And I think with cloud, sometimes companies might still be a bit fearful about implementing cloud solutions, and they might be stuck in the old ways. So what are some of the challenges implementing cloud solutions for a company, and what would be your advice, let's say, how to overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge overall in any organization is the cultural challenge. I think the technology is it's very easy to adopt technology and actually implement things and migrate things from one source to the other. But I think it's all about the right support you can engage without in an organization. So I would say cultural is definitely the biggest one. Once you have engineers with the right skill set, once you have the leadership that understands the benefit of kind of going to the cloud or adopting, cloud native or any container solution. I think this is where the change can actually happen. But I think this still, like, you need the skill set, you need the engineers, and you need the interest from the leadership. And once they understand that in business terms, again, like they should understand that this is going to be beneficial because you're going to deploy faster to your customers, or your bill, for example, for managing your infrastructure is going to be halved. Like this is something they need to get out of it. And once both of these kind of two primitives are available, you'll be able to kind of move forward. So I think this is definitely the biggest challenge. If you're asking about maybe technical challenges, again, I don't think like at this stage, maybe if you asked me 5 years ago, I'd say we need more functionalities in Kubernetes, we need more tools in terms of like storage or networking. Now we have all of that available. So I think the challenge now is choosing the right systems for you. So actually understanding, like, why did you choose this particular networking tool? So if you go for example, for Cilium, or if you go for Calico as a networking component, why did you do that? Because both of them provide a networking capability, but they are very different at the core. So I think the challenge is choosing or making decisions about the right tools for your software. The thing is, you have that availability. So choice is important, but I think the challenge is to have the right talent and the right, kind of technical executive leadership to drive that forward. And even if you make a mistake, that's fine. However, it's more about kind of learning and iterating rather than just like, kind of being on the same spot.
Thank you for your insights. They were actually quite interesting. And as someone from your view now, someone who attended the conference for the first time, what is your main takeaway from the conference, and what would you recommend to future attendees?
I think my main takeaway is, just clear my voice. My main takeaway is that the data science world and community is very fascinating. Again, like I am here more as an observer rather than like an actual expert within this field. But it's fascinating to see so many people and so many organizations doing amazing work and influencing the way we actually live. So that has been interesting to learn from different people and different speakers throughout the day. I cannot recommend enough for anyone who has an interest in data science to be here. I think it's very important to, find your people, find your community, and be part of it. And another thing that I'd like to see more is more open source in data science. I think this is maybe one of my agendas here. Try to question like how much of your this great tool that you provide for data science or machine learning or artificial intelligence, how much of it is open source? Like, did you think about open source? So hopefully we'll see a bit more of that engagement in the future as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for attending the conference. I do hope you've enjoyed it so far, that you enjoyed Belgrade, and looking forward to seeing you next year as well.
I hope I'm going to be here next year, but thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to Data Science Conference. My name is Katie Gamanji and I am a Senior Field Engineer for Apple. And let's change the world for data.